Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I just find something so peculiar about modern conservatism, today's conservatism, which is really no longer the conservatism of Ronald Reagan or John McCain or even George Bush. It is something very, very different. This is a talking point that many of us have discussed. We've talked about it. And, part of that, I think, is this, okay. I recommended in my last video talking about anti-black sentiment within the Indian community. We talked about the Soviet Russian Manual on Brainwashing by Lavrenti Beria. Check it out if you can. It is something that is so enlightening. But communism, fascism, authoritarianism is not something that's new, and it's something that is consuming the American Republican Party at this moment. And I'm not sure that people really even realize it. Partly because of ignorance. Nobody wants to pick up a book. No one wants to read anymore, and so part of this idea of conservatism, which is rooted in white supremacy, says, even if you're poor, if you're white, you're supposed to be above those other people. Even if you're uneducated, you're still better. And so I think what we're looking at right now is a deterioration of one's mind, and that one is basically an entire group. It's very, very sad to watch, but a mind is a terrible, terrible thing to waste. And people are not reading. And I'm so thankful that I went to school at the time that I went in America, and that I had the family that I had. Otherwise, I'd be walking around here with some sort of false world view, and it would be terrible. It would be terrible, guys. So, I recently watched a special on MSNBC talking about this PragerU, Frederick Douglass. So, and for those of you guys who don't know, we all remember the absolutely ignorant and indignant statement from Candace Owens that museums should be defunded. She is exemplary of that foot soldier who is so indoctrinated that they don't understand the gravity of their own ignorance. Closing down museums, although many of that stuff is stolen, given, but closing down museums and defunding libraries, taking people's books away, taking people's knowledge away, it basically gives forces of elite capitalists to continue to evade taxes, to continue to make billions, while the mere foot soldiers, even foot soldiers like Candace Owens or who's another person that I can think of, Andrew Tate or Piers Morgan's, they are basically the foot soldiers who people like Donald Trump and Modi and Elon Musk and Netanyahu and Putin, those are the people that those authoritarian leaders, these people who are evading taxes, billionaires who want everyone to be ignorant and to not read, to not have knowledge, they're standing on their backs. So if they're standing on the backs of these people who use propaganda to make money within the media and be these talking pieces for billionaires, what do you imagine happens to the people below the foot soldiers, the average everyday citizens? It's why people are so angry right now. I would say to any ardent white supremacist right now, especially the young ones, which I have such a soft spot in my heart for young people, please, please, please read things directly from the camel's mouth. If you're going to be talking about Frederick Douglass, read what he wrote. Don't look at cartoons or depictions or personifications of him. Just read what he wrote, okay? You're going to read Ralph Waldo Emerson. Don't look at cartoons of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Just read Ralph Waldo Emerson. That's the way this thing works. Growing up, I actually got to read things from Frederick Douglass, from W.E.B. Du Bois, from Langston Hughes, from Angela Davis, not some stupid caricature of it. Ron DeSantis talks about indoctrination, but this PragerU, which is commissioned by Florida schools, actual schools are using this stuff. Now, I'm not going to say there's a majority of schools. Most schools see this and they know they should stay away from this with a 10-foot pole. But let me just read. I'm going to go ahead. This is going to be a short video. Let me just set up the difference between stupid, caricature, dumbified version, PragerU, conservative, Republican, MAGA extremist version of Frederick Douglass and the real Frederick Douglass. I'm going to read something from Frederick Douglass's essay where he speaks about escaping slavery. And I'm going to read what this PragerU script says. The cartoon character Frederick Douglass is saying to two pretty Eurocentric looking children in the scene, "My name is Frederick Douglass. Welcome to 1852. I'm not okay with slavery, but the founding fathers made a compromise to achieve something great, the making of the United States. Slavery was part of life all over the world. It was America that began the conversation." Let me stop you right there. A little Eurocentric child, says people like Garrison don't want slavery abolished, but the whole American system. And fictional Frederick Douglass goes, "You are correct. His approach is called radical, a complete fundamental change of everything." That seems silly. There's so many amazing things about America. We even had a black president. 2 terms. And so the Eurocentric child says, "So, Mr. Douglass, do you think we should be activists, just not radical ones?" And fictional Frederick Douglass says, "Your America, where people are free and under the law, sounds pretty great." Guys, don't do stupid interpretations of Frederick Douglass. Don't try to take his words and skew them to meet your stupid MAGA extremist, fascist, xenophobic, homophobic, anti-black, racist, misogynistic, sexist, climate change denying, make white people the kings of America again rhetoric. Don't do that. That wasn't Frederick Douglass. Frederick, please, if you're a young person, go and read Frederick Douglass's essays. Go and read his books, and you will see why this is absolutely against everything that the Black Civil Rights Movement, that the abolitionists, that Reconstruction in America was about. Please, slavery is wrong. There is no way to spin that. And the enslavement of black people, the transatlantic slave trade, and the repercussions of that today, which manifest in police brutality against black people, and just, the basic retardation within society of success of black people by and large, is wrong. It's wrong. And that's what Frederick Douglass talked about. It's why he escaped slavery. He's sitting in here in this cartoon talking about how slavery wasn't all that bad. So why did he escape from it? Why did he risk his life to escape to Massachusetts? Now compare that to this. I have some quotes here from Frederick Douglass himself. Now this one is from the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. I really recommend you read it. It's wonderful. He says, "I have observed this in my experience of slavery, that whenever my condition was improved," meaning when he escaped slavery, "instead of it increasing my contentment, it only increased my desire to be free, and set me to thinking of plans to gain my freedom. I have found that to make a contented slave, it is necessary to make a thoughtless one." a thoughtless one. Guys, wake up. Read a book and wake up, please. It is necessary to darken his moral and mental vision and as far as possible to annihilate the power of reason. He must be able to detect no inconsistencies in slavery. He must be made to feel that slavery is right. And he can be brought to that only when he ceased to be a man. These PragerU people have never actually read anything from Frederick Douglass. They're just pushing their own stupid rhetoric. I mean, I doubt that many of these people have ever read any kind of a book. Donald Trump has definitely never read any kind of a book. And you know what? This is the deep warning that many, many Republicans and conservatives need to listen to Frederick Douglass immediately. He says, where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, where any one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe. You guys keep up this fascist, communist, authoritarian stuff. The billionaires who made you their foot soldiers, oh, they're going to make your lives miserable. Get rid of democracy for one, get rid of it for all. You're going to face the bad consequences of this. Now, again, compare what we just heard from PragerU to this. Frederick Douglass, in his autobiographies, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, says, I prayed for freedom for 20 years, but received no answer until I prayed with my legs. Now, if you don't understand what that means he prayed with his mouth, but until he got his ass up and ran away, ran for the hill to get the fuck out of there, nothing happened. That don't sound like someone who was like, oh, slavery wasn't that bad. Okay, listen to this. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Found out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows, or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. And I wanted to just end here with speaking on some things in some collected articles from him, which I pulled up for the sake of this video, where he speaks about Congress. And I tell you what, guys, the way that he speaks about it in here, oh my goodness, you would think that he was talking in 2023. You would think that he was talking in 2023 because it is so accurate. It is so accurate for where we are today, and it's spot on. Now listen to how crazy this is, guys, because so many times, how many times has it happened where, you know, we've talked about if the states in the United States are left to govern themselves without really any real federal intervention until it gets real bad, you know, it just doesn't work. It just continues to breed that idea of the Confederacy, of bigotry and anti-black sentiment, of basically keeping slavery alive in the South. We talk about that now. Listen to what Frederick Douglass says. If you really want to get an idea of how this man really felt, and how black people really felt back then, and how black people still feel today. Even white people, even sane white people, abolitionists back then were talking about the same doggone thing. We're talking about the same things from 1862. How much progress does that tell you that we've really, really made? Read your literature, guys. Read Frederick Douglass. Read it from the camel's mouth. Go and get the information from the camel's mouth. Read his books directly. So he says, so here we go. He says, the South must be open to the light of law and liberty, and this session of Congress is relied upon to accomplish this important work. The plain common sense way of doing this work, as intimated at the beginning, is simply to establish in the South one law, one government, one administration of justice, one condition to the exercise of the elective franchise for men of all races and colors alike. This great measure is sought as earnestly by loyal white men as by loyal blacks, and is needed alike by both. Let sound political prescient but take the place of unreasoning prejudice, and this will be done. Men denounce the Negro for his prominence in this discussion, but it is no fault of his that in peace as in war, that in concord, rebel armies as in reconstructing rebellious states, the right of the Negro is the true solution of our national troubles. And go ahead and lump Hispanics and Asians in with the Negro. You know, I feel like right now there is this nasty white supremacy that's springing up among Hispanics. Many Hispanics, I mean, some of them, yes, are European Hispanics. Some of them have dominant genetics of European ancestry. Okay, great. But for the most part, Hispanics, especially Mexican Hispanics, are coming from the Caribbean and African descent, okay? Asian people, Eurasia, Africa's here, okay? Early human beings traveled on up to Asia, okay? These people are going to find out real, because many Hispanics and Asians right now in the U.S. are trying to think strategically, okay? I'm just going to try and lump myself in with whiteness as much as I can to avoid what happened to the black people. But guys, first they came after our language, you know, then they came after our women. You know how that thing goes. They'll come after us blacks. We're used to it. We can handle it. We've been handling it for a long time. But they will come after you next, and you'll realize that you're not white. This has to work for everyone. Anti-racism has to be a part of it for everyone, or it works for no one. You know, reverse racism, if you're really talking about that, then you really should want to also contribute to anti-racist causes and renew and restore, but also create the equality, the equity, the respect for people of color, for black people that has never really been there. If you really want to eliminate so-called reverse racism, you got to take care of racism towards black people first. Frederick Douglass ain't saying nothing about slavery being a good thing. But respectfully, I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. If you're new to this channel, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Hit that bell so you know whenever I post video. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.